Hello everyone, it's Fallout 4 Guy here and welcome to the behind the scenes video for my Kingsport Harbour at Kingsport Lighthouse. As always, if you haven't seen the original tour, please go and check that out first. It is the way I want you to see the build. It's like there's atmosphere, there's cinematics, and honestly it's like 6 minutes long. It's not a lot of time. Just go and watch that first, and then by all means come back here and I'll answer questions I'm sure you've got. So yeah, so that's I'm going to get on with it basically because I don't want this to be a long two-part video like my last few have been. I'll try and get this under 60 minutes. So where to start? Okay, inspiration. So I got inspired to build this by another YouTuber. Her channel name is Technicolor Storm Shadow, I think. Basically she got inspired by my winter themed cabin and built something in Far Harbour. It was a fisherman's player home, fisherman's shack, and that inspired me to do like a fishing. I thought, oh, you know, like a fishing harbour type thing, something would be cool like that. I've always liked Far Harbour. I always thought it was a cool DLC, but I always thought that the actual quest hub, you know, the main town you go to in Far Harbour, a little bit like it's a bit disappointing, and I wanted to do a better version, but I didn't want to do it in Far Harbour, of course, because that was already there. So I thought Kingsport Lighthouse, perfect. It's on the coast. It's got a lighthouse, just yeah, meant to be, and that was it. So that's kind of the idea behind it. Now the actual build process for this was probably I would say this is my most challenging build I've done. Not technically challenging. I've done way more complicated builds in terms of just technical, you know, building skills. But this creatively was hard to get the flow and the kind of atmosphere and the shots I knew I wanted to do. Took a lot of time. I think I spent a week just messing around with different layouts of the pier. Like my pier originally came off this one, you know, naturally. You know, that was the kind of the first obvious place of where to put the pier. I had variants where it came off like on sort of angles. There was like two more piers there. None of it worked. You know, I started building them. I ripped them down. I'm really fussy about stuff like this. It has to be right at the foundations before I move on. You know, I don't want make do things. So I'm either happy with it. I almost gave up. You know, I thought, you know, this not working, let me just go and build something else because it's just pissing me off. But luckily I stuck with it and ended up with this design. And the reason why I kind of ended up with this one is because I wanted this shot. This is where in my head I could see this thing where I kind of panned along and I saw the length of this tour, and it was going to be a long tour, a long pan of the pier kind of going off around the coastline in the distance, and that was kind of like what I wanted to do. And I know it looks like it was easy to do that now because you could see it all there, but trying to do that when there's nothing there was hard to kind of get it all working and to get it within a realistic limit of what I knew the machine probably could take. I've never built here before other than a player home, which was very small, and it was years ago, and I've never built anything substantially big here. If you see the green line there, it's because I'm using a mod called Settlement Borders Expanded or something like that. All my mods are in the description, so just look in there. But yeah, so this green line is the original build area, so that's the bit that you can actually build to when you get to the spot. And the expanded borders goes down to about where that rock is there. You see that rock where my cursor is? It's about to there, maybe just a bit before. It goes in like a big circumference. And yeah, so you can build quite far out, but I wanted to kind of make it, you know, obviously fit in one shot. The longer you get, if I had built any further away, you start to get, you see how the shadows are all gone when you look down on the restaurant at the back, the cafe. Yeah, shadows just don't render, so stuff starts to look weird as it gets further out, which is why I stopped where I did. It was about as far as the game will render, and still look all right. As you get closer to stuff, you'll see the shadows start to pop in and things look a bit better, and yeah, so that's why I did that. Anyway, so yeah, I spent a week just pissing about, couldn't get happy with the kind of layouts. I finally sort of got this layout. It slightly curves around. You see the pier curves. The pier's not a simple just straight pier. I thought that was boring. So I followed the coast round, but the coast itself doesn't exist, as in the coast that's here doesn't exist. I kind of built the rocks, and you see that underneath there's all rocks there. Yeah, that's not there. I put all those there. So the reason I did that as well, because it's obviously just beach. You know, where the sand is there, that's pretty much how it follows around, and it just gets bigger and bigger and opens up, and it's all beach. Having a pier just across the beach looks weird, so of course I had to make it look like it was, you know, built onto something more solid, and then the buildings sit on top of that, so it looks like it's stronger rather than the pier holding up all this weight. So so yeah, so there's like, you know, method to that. Yeah, so anyway, so once I got the foundations of the pier down, then I could start finally building. It went through a few different changes as well. The original, I think the first building I put was here. I had like I moved this rock. This rock wasn't here. I kind of had like a few shops, can't remember now, but it looks shit. I didn't like it. It looked like having stuff coming straight off onto this pier just didn't look right. It needed to be further down, so that's why I ended up starting further into the pier and having it here now. The only problem was that I didn't realise until I'd got quite deep, I'd say about 20% into the build. I didn't realise that this is about as far, I think around here it is, this is about as far as settlers will come. Settlers will not go down here for some reason, even though this pier stuff, this is from USO, these pier parts. Even though they will not, these are meshed and they will walk across them normally, they won't walk across them, I believe, because it's on water now. I think that's, even though it's on a surface, I think they just think it's in the water, so they just don't do anything. Very, very annoying, because I had all these plans. The original plans, I was going to have a restaurant there. No, sorry, I was going to have the restaurant is where it is now. I was going to have people in there. I was going to have a bar called, I think I was going to call it the Last Plank, because they've got a Last Plank in Far Harbour, and I thought that would be a nice like kind of hot nod to the Far Harbour one. This building here was going to be more active. I was going to have people working at the front. I was going to have the doors open, and you'd be able to see people working inside. There was lots of plans that all revolved around having settlers in, really. And yeah, as soon as I found out that I couldn't do that threw a spanner in the works. So that changed the design a little bit, but yeah, it didn't matter too much. I suppose the fact that I've got so much going on up here kind of, well, hopefully kind of sold the busy aspect and the atmosphere. I filmed the video in a way that I showed all this stuff first, and then hopefully by the time you got to that section, you were already convinced that the place was like hustle and bustle that I wanted to sort of convey, and it didn't matter that the settlers weren't there. So, but it pissed me off. I had a flashback of Nuka City when settlers just wouldn't go there. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. So yeah, actually, while I'm talking about settlers, I'll just mention, so I use a mod called Busy Settlers. It's a rug thing. So you place a rug, so the outline on the floor, that's the rug. You place a rug down and you assign the settlers using that, and they'll just do the animation. But the way I get them to do the way I get them to stay there is a little trick I use. So what I will do, this takes ages, by the way, so it's not a quick thing. So what I'll do is I'll put the settlers, pick the animations I want, and I'll put the settlers in position using, the rug I should say, in position using QwaPA, or Place Anywhere if you use that. I recommend QwaPA, it's way better. So I'll put them in position with that, and then you go and sleep on a bed or wait on a chair, and they'll teleport to it. So if, like, for example, like the settlers that are up on the lighthouse construction up there, there's no way you could ever get them to path up there. It's just not gonna happen. So sleeping teleports them up there. Now, if they don't move from their spot, they won't. When you sleep, if they don't teleport there, then it's because there's an object blocking, as in they're going to mesh into like a wall or something, or then they won't do it for that reason. So then or in this case, like with the water, they wouldn't teleport over there because they think it's in the water. So if they don't move, then you've got to move your rug slightly to a better position. Most of the time they will teleport, even if it's in spots that they could never pass to, like like this guy, for example, or the guys up on the construction thing. Then once they're in the position, then you can adjust the rug again using, if you leave it attached to your post with QwaPA, or you place anywhere post, whichever, and then you can move it again. But that will reset the settler. So then you've got to have to repeat the sleep thing, and they will teleport again each time. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. It takes ages, man. I'm not gonna lie. I hate settlers. They suck, but you know it's a necessary thing to make your place look alive. So you'll have ones like this dude here that you'll just have to keep tweaking for ages until you get his hands lined up on the fucking pole. It looks like he's holding onto it. It's stuff like that. It just takes a lot of time. Just keep moving, go back, sleep, and do that. Anyway, once you're happy with the position, then what you do is you use another mod called CVA, Custom Vanilla Assets, and in there there's a little toggle called Time Stuff. It's a little toggle. Put that on, it'll open up another bunch of stuff, and you'll get freeze time or unfreeze time, enter darkness. These are all different times of day you can set it to, make it so the sun's just coming up. So yeah, so you freeze time, you put it on the floor, and you just walk through it basically, and that freezes time. So that means now that they are stuck in a constant work day. You know, it's never going to move, the time's never going to move, the sun is always going to be where it is, it's never going to change. And that is pretty much how I do it. So once you've got that, if you ever want to move your settlers or if you want to assign more, remember to unfreeze time, because if you try and sleep while time is frozen, you're going to be there a long time. It just doesn't move. I think like it will move eventually, but it takes like, I don't know, like an hour. It takes like a fucking real hour or something. Just forget it, don't even do it. Always unfreeze time, remember to do that, and then yeah, sleep again. So yeah, so you can see why that takes a long time, and this is a big bulk of what took the majority of time on this build really. Not just placing the settlers, but making the set pieces so that everything looks interesting. Every pan of the camera, you know, again, hopefully you've watched the original tour. If you haven't, sort your life out. But but yeah, if you've watched that, every camera pan has something interesting to look at. It's something that like I kind of go out my way to do. And this is why if you've come to my videos from Reddit or even Facebook, if you're a sub, you know all this. But if you're new to my channel, you know, like my videos, my tours, I want you to be able to watch them multiple times and see things each time. You know, like it's something that I love, movies that you can watch over and over again and always see something different in there that you missed. You know, like things like Sixth Sense, or you know, those kind of movies that you think, oh man, I've seen this like 4 times, I know what's happening, but I still didn't notice that little touch. Or I like that. I aspire to do things like that. And you know, with my tours, I try to do similar things. Like I hope that, you know, they're always interesting from start to finish. I hope that you always find little things in there that you think, oh, I didn't see that last time, or you know. And anyway, that's kind of like, it takes time to build that, is what I'm trying to say. So I'll set the settlers as I go. I learnt this the hard way with Nuka City, where I didn't do the settler until the end. I built the city and I was kind of really carried away. I'd never done a big build before, and by the time I got to the end of it, I'd already pushed the game so far. My PS4 was just like, mate, I'm not having any more settlers or anything. So the second I tried to assign just even one settler, the game would just crash. It just wouldn't take it. Now I've learned from that, and I do it in stages, and it's better because it helps you design the set pieces around the builds then. Because if you're you know, doing it as you go along, by the time you got to the end, you might think, oh, I really would like to have this guy checking this stock here, but I've already built a fucking shop here now, so I can't do it. You know, it's one of those things. So you just do it as you go along and work around the settlers, and I think it helps to create the set pieces anyway. What it does for me, you know, I can only speak obviously what works for me. Maybe you're just amazing, you've got this imagination, you can plan it all out and do it at the end, but I can't. I like to do it as I go along. So yeah, so onto the set pieces actually while I'm here. So this little elevator type thing, these kind of come along just by looking at the build as it's evolving. I'm like, okay, so I've got traders coming in, I've got the pier lined up this way, I've got, you know, I can see where my ships are going to go. Maybe I've got people pulling trade and stuff in onto this little pier. How do I get it up onto this dock? So that is pretty much how this kind of stuff comes around. This is made from this this is actually from my requested mods. So Fallout 4 Guy requested parts. Link is in the description, and it's made by Toys Out the Pram. He's amazing. He makes loads of great clutter mods and other mods, but he also made a mod for me for just requested things that I wanted in the game. And yeah, so this little chain thing is just the chains, and this is from what's this from? Post Beams Supports. Another one is mods, or Beams Post Supports, I don't know, one of them. And these little cogwheels are from my requested as well. That's just a conduit piece. So yeah, just with those combined, it's very simple, but it makes a little elevator. And yeah, I just thought it looks, there's 2 scaffolding floors just to get the width. Just thought it looked interesting. And that's how a lot of these set pieces come about. It's more looking at it, what do I need, what would I need in real life to make this area work, and yeah, it just kind of goes from there. The little stories I like to tell with the NPCs, just the old drunken sailor kind of the kind of like trope of that. Thought I needed to have some drunk sailors in there. It just kind of made sense to me in the build to have a couple of pissheads, people standing around like chatting, people that work here, people that shop here, people that live here, that kind of stuff. This guy works here, so he's he's like the local food guy for this kind of establishment. And yeah, so like I built this around that idea, really, of having like a barbecue and something being cooked outdoors. This little barbecue not being used now, but this isn't a mod. This is 2 barrels. You see like the original barrel there, look, it's got no seam on it, but by putting 2 different textures, it gives a seam. I've lined it up just enough that part's showing. The handles are a little dog collar. And then you got the catwalk parts for the legs. Very, very simple, but always wanted to have like a barreled barbecue where you lift the top up. So I just thought that would be a good place to put that in. And the buildings themselves, so I got to work on the buildings fairly early on, but they went through a few different changes. With this look, this whole place, I wanted to look much more established than my usual. So I get known for like kind of lore friendly, and I don't really like the word lore friendly because I feel like it's a bit like, I think you can build in the universe of Fallout so it looks like it belongs there, but it doesn't necessarily have to be lore friendly. Like I don't want to build like Bethesda, that basically everything's still wrecked and trashed after 200 years, but I also want it to look like it's been put together, but not necessarily with the the manpower and technology that we've got now. So this place is a little bit more professional looking, but still I think looks like it belongs in Fallout. And it's still kind of interesting because you get all these kind of like ramshackle looking stuff, but it just looks like it's put together a bit more sturdily. And the contrast in terms of like the more professional ones kind of signify the difference in how successful the business is. So this like hotel, for example, or inn, looks a bit more well put together because it's obviously it makes a lot more money and the business is better. And you could say the same with the Deli Mart. Again, it looks a bit more sort of solid looking, but again, it's not quite as well put together as the hotel. Also, I just mentioned that the design of this comes from, like, I'm from the UK, as you can probably tell. We have lots of market stalls around in like the area that I live in. There's a market, and a lot of the stalls there are temporary ones like you would normally on a market, but then there's some permanent ones as well, and they have like these shutters so you can just close them down at the end of the day. And they're normally like very simple, like just flaps that lift up and create like a little canopy as well. And that's what this is. This is just designed off one of those basically. So like just I used to use doors, tilted doors, and bits of wood panels, and the whole thing is just made out of like wooden posts and things. Again, from the same mod I mentioned earlier over there, the post beam supports or whatever it's called, and I think that's from Kuro's EBM mod, I think. Yeah, I think it is. But yeah, these are definitely from the post supports one. And yeah, so like I just kind of throw it together just piece by piece with that, make it look a bit more interesting rather than just snap things together. And I want it to look like it's got like an an upstairs where the shopkeeper lives, and there's this little alleyway. It doesn't really do anything, it just looks interesting. But yeah, all the decor here, it's not a mod. Well, that bit is. I think that bit's from USO, but this is all just hand placed droppable items made static with QwaPA. It takes ages to kind of put all this stuff in here, but yeah, every one of them is like hand placed. They're not. It's not mods. You can see there. If I do that, look, you can see. So yeah, it's little deli mart. So yeah, sells meat and veg and things. I thought it was interesting. And as you move down the pier now, and knowing by this point that I can't put settlers down any part of this, kind of changed the choices I made with the buildings. So I think this restaurant was going to be bigger. Basically, I think it was going to be the size of where this is. It was going to be a big restaurant, and it was going to have lots of stuff going on. There was going to be people outside talking, eating, and so on. But yeah, of course, that all changes when you can't put the damn settlers in. So I chose a little gift shop. Now, this shop, again, in the UK, we have seafront type shops, and they're a little bit tacky, and they have like so much stuff out the front. It's just rammed with stuff. Basically, there's like postcard stands and lilo, like inflatables, basically, and that kind of stuff, all outside the shop front. They look horrible, but it's kind of, you just expect it. So, lots of other countries have it as well. If you've ever been like anywhere in Europe, that has like seaside type resorts, you're going to see it just cluttered outside. So yeah, there's nothing kind of like new about this design, but this is something that I see a lot, and I think it fits perfect to this kind of harbour setting. And I haven't got like postcard stands, but I've got this magazine rack, for example, and this is something that I think kind of, the more clutter on it, the better. It's all decorated nautical style. The boat, the rowboat, is for the canopy or the awning. Just a normal rowboat from USO, just flipped it upside down, sunk it into the wall. The bits of rope and the buoys and stuff, that's from my requested mod, Fallout 4 got requested. And yeah, so I've just kind of like layered it. I got asked actually on either on my channel or on Reddit, I can't remember, how I decorate what do I use to decorate, but it's not a mod, it's just normal items. I just drop normal items on the floor, make them like tilt them, kind of where I want them to be, and just make them static with QwaPA. Nothing, there's not a mod. And then the actual physical items that are not droppable ones, like this is from USO, I just tilt them with QwaPA, using the bread basket, and that's it. Just kind of place them that way. But most of the items, like these are all just droppable items that I've placed with and made static. And then the inside, again, because I couldn't have settlers, like in this area, there was no point me doing anything with the interiors. Although, to be honest, with this shop, I probably wouldn't bother anyhow, because the front is the decor here. This is what this is about, selling the kind of like the look of these kind of seashore. So that's a tongue twister. These are like these kind of buildings you see on the seafronts. So I didn't really need to do much inside. But if you want to look inside, obviously there's nothing there. Of course, the score now. But as you look past it, you should never be able to see anything that gives you the inkling there's nothing in there. It's all placed just so the camera kind of only just sees what needs to be. So technically it is decorated inside, but just not fully. And I've said this before, in all the builds, that when you build towns and cities, especially on console, especially on PS4, especially on Xbox, there's only so much you can take. You've got to be realistic. You can't make something this size and have every single building able to go into and look around. It's just not realistic. Can't happen. I think even on PC you're going to struggle. You know, yeah, you've got more power, but there's a limit to it. Always a limit to what it can do. There's a limit to what the game engine can do. So, um, so yeah, same thing with this one. You know, although you can see in the windows, there's actually nothing inside. It's just the bare minimum of decor needed to kind of sell that you can see through the windows. Although this design was going to be a little bit more elaborate, I think. So I've got like a little staircase here. So there's nothing up the staircase. It doesn't lead anywhere. But originally it was going to. It was going to lead to like a roof garden, roof kind of sitting area. So the wall, the front there was glass. I had the glass, the big glass panels that you get in my requested mod. We're going to be on the front there, and you're going to be able to see through it, and you're going to have all the chairs and things up there, so you look like a roof garden. Upon building it, it looked too modern. Glass, I should have really realised, glass railings and stuff just looks too modern. It doesn't suit the style, so I took that out and went for this style instead, which looks a bit more Fallout. Although I just obviously kept the glass windows, obviously. This is a style that's very, very common in the UK. These kind of bay windows. I'm not sure what the technical term is for that kind of window, like a sash window maybe. I'm not sure, but I don't think it is. But anyway, bay window. It's like a half hexagon shape, and it's quite common in Victorian type structures. So I've just built one of those. Really, nothing major. I build everything by hand, just in case you don't know. I don't snap stuff, so I do get asked sometimes what mod these are from. That it's not a mod. It is, but it's just USO. It's just a normal barn pieces. You know, I just tilt them, and then use again the post beam supports thingy. Why can't I click that? What's that in the way? Okay, they're just normal posts. Look, and I just kind of make the framework out of wood. Different planks of wood. And you can see there's all, even the door frame, you know, it's not actually a door frame, it's just posts I've made myself. And then and just build the shape like that. I think it looks more interesting. I don't like snapping stuff. Haven't snapped stuff in about 2 years. I think it limits you too much, basically. And this game is getting on a bit now, what, 3 years old, Fallout 4. So we're starting to see a lot of, you know, similar type things when people snap. It's just everything looks familiar. I hope that when you look at my builds, stuff doesn't look, you know, it doesn't look as regurgitated or as reused as most of the others you see. But anyway, that's like, yeah, so I don't snap stuff. So with all the buildings, you can see that, like, even this, you might think this is snapped together. Look, if I can click it, which I probably can't. Let's get rid of a few things. Yeah, that can go now. So that blue wall, look, see, it's not snapped because I've tilted what would normally just be a half piece, and it's just a normal warehouse piece from USO, the retextures one from USO. I've just tilted it upright because the windows are nicer shaped that way, I think, than it is the other way. So due to that fact that I've flipped that again, it's no longer snappable. So if that's not snappable, that's not snappable, and then that becomes not snappable. So it's all a case of like me just lining everything up by hand, and yeah, even on the snappable ones, I don't snap it. It's just a habit now. I just pick everything up with the QwaPA post. So how are we for time? Okay, I've got a bit of time left. Good. I can't upload a video longer than 60 minutes on PS4. I have to put it in 2 parts, which is why I'm trying to get through this without doing it into 2. And the other thing I want to mention actually is up on this area. So I was going to build up here, and I know people are curious to probably what was up here if you watch the video. So this is where the video starts, and this is all you see. But as with all my kind of cities, they are with limits, and they are like movie sets. So there's nothing behind these areas, and there you can see the backdrop that I created to make it look like a lot bigger than it was, and everything's floating. Oh man, I hate showing this stuff because you know, it ruins the magic trick, you know. But you have to see it to kind of see how it's possible, because I think a lot of the naysayers that I even still get now that don't believe it's on PS4, I think one of the main reasons they don't is just because they think, how can it handle it? How does your frames per second handle it? Blah blah blah. But yeah, it's just because I think it just looks fuller than it is. The other thing, oh yeah, sorry, the reason why this is empty, because the original plan for this area was to be, so I was going to have a gas station up here, there was going to be a garage, there was going to be a parking area for the harbour, for the trade. So basically so the road, all the stuff, the trade that comes from the road would come up this area, and then you obviously can move down into the docks. And I purposely left it out until near the end, is because I didn't know how much I could build in this build. So I've built here once before, like a smaller player home, but I've never built big. So I had no idea what I could get away with. So I had to just be careful in terms of, what my plans were for it. So there was two plans that I was going to do that didn't quite get done. Well, one did, but this one didn't. So this area was left, and of course I knew I'd kind of pushed the limit too much. Didn't want to start up there, because although I could have built maybe a few things up there, I knew I couldn't finish it to what I wanted to do, so didn't bother. And then the other one was, this was going to be my fail-safe sort of player home if need be. I knew I was going to have a player home in here. It was going to be a boathouse, but I wasn't sure, because my original idea for the boathouse was to build a boat from scratch, and I knew that I wouldn't have enough resources to do that. But just in case I didn't get to build the boathouse at all, this was going to be where my player home was. Didn't need it in the end, so I just kind of stuck stuff in the windows. It's not decorated, as you can see, it's empty, but enough to make it look like, as I come past it, that there was stuff in there. But yeah, while I'm here, I'm just going to show you up the top. Actually, let's go this way. So although I never planned to ever come past this area, this is the construction area, so that you would be able to kind of maybe see little glimpses of what was here. But the guys working up on the construction would have stuff delivered or put in along this area, and it kind of gets like hauled up. There's like a little winch system that you probably maybe didn't notice. It's hard to see, but it's like there in the background. That's just made with conduit wiring. And then so like that was kind of like something that I wanted to look like you could always get the stuff, like you could actually, it could function, like how are they getting the stuff up there? So there was a bottom area to that, and then I'll just fly up here because it's easier. And then the scaffolding area, again, I did kind of show a little bit up here, but I was never really intended to be able to walk around up here. It was never part of the plan. So although the catwalks and stuff do work, they're all made from just like random boards and planks, from USO and from CVA, but yeah, they're all just like little bits and bobs. Excuse me. Being just like, kind of trying to make a believable looking scaffolding system. I tried a few different designs on it, spent a lot of time. First of all, I tried the pre-done scaffolding, which just looked shit. That just didn't work. Then I tried the pre-done catwalks that are in USO, again didn't work. And then I just thought, you know what, nothing's going to look good unless I actually make my own. So I ended up just doing that. Wooden beams. It's all wooden beams and planks. You can see it's all little bits. And yeah, it just looks better because it looks more, well, I don't know, it looks more Fallout, it looks more natural, and I can follow the pattern of it quite well. So, but anyway, I knew I wanted a couple of shots of this guy, for example. This wall that he's working on, these pieces are from my requested mod, and they look shit up close. It looks a bit messy there, but from a distance it looks fine. Looks like he's working on a little bit of it, and I think from the angle I showed, which was there, it looks okay. And then I just wanted to be able to kind of look off here, so again I designed this little area kind of with that in mind, of having a more kind of aerial shot. I don't think I showed this guy working on this little winch thing that I made, as I said, that led down there. There's more here as well. Again, all this stuff, it was all, there's a crane down there, look, it was all to look like it was practical, but at the same time I never really intended you to really look at it. It was kind of like in the distance. I wanted to include the lighthouse because it's Kingsport lighthouse, so it had to kind of be in there, but I wanted it to not to make the build kind of focus on it, because this is about the harbour, so I didn't want to kind of do too much with it. But that little set piece I thought was enough. You know, it's something that in the distance you can see. I kind of showed it a little bit, and it did enough to make it look like something was going on. Again, all these set pieces, like I mentioned before, they're all designed to kind of like, they have a purpose of making the place look alive. That's the main thing. While I'm here actually looking at the rocks, I don't think nobody really asked about this. Well, actually one person, Doors, he's another YouTuber, good builder. He doesn't really build much anymore, but he's still got his channel up, Doors177, I think his full name is, I believe, I'm not sure. But yeah, he mentioned the rocks, and he mentioned the how kind of like deceiving it was at first. He was like, what you know, what's those? That doesn't look like Kingsport. But yeah, you see the difference of the landscape in the background and the pine trees and stuff. This is something that you see a lot in my country, in the UK. You see these seaside or harbour kind of pier shots, and then at the back they've always got houses or mountains or something built up of field. You know, like you see all these things in the background basically. And if you take that away, if you take that fake rock landscape I made and the trees away, it looks very, I don't know, it just looks empty and just doesn't look very big. Put that in there though, and all of a sudden now, you know, there's more scale to it. It looks grander. And yeah, so the same thing happened here. So basically without that there, believe it or not, the build just doesn't look right. It didn't look right for me. These aren't from a mod, these are from the ocean floor. I pulled them all out of the bed, the ocean bed. One thing I do when I get to a build that I know what I'm building, because I normally always have an idea of what I'm doing in my head. I don't just show up somewhere and just throw things down. I have an image and I know roughly where the camera's going to be pointing probably before I even get going. And of course with this one I knew nothing was going to be looking in the ocean, so I took all the stuff out of the ocean that wasn't needed to help with the frames rate. I deleted all the stuff that was off camera that I didn't need, and but the rocks and stuff I kept. So that is one piece that I grabbed out of the floor. That's also a piece that you can't see there, that piece and that piece. The different colours, bits of different pieces basically. And I just thought it kind of added a bit more shape and something interesting. And then you can see the hanging cages. Like I kind of thought it was a way of like showing that, you know, what they do with like, you know, any criminals are just, there was like an older, maybe less civilized way of back in the day, but obviously the place is built up a little bit better now and they don't do such things. But yeah, kind of like it is a bit pirate-esque looking, which is kind of like, yeah, sorting the theme of the build really. While I'm looking at this, there's another thing that someone, you know, hardly anybody mentioned. So only one person mentioned the rocks, the landscape and the terrain. Only I think two people mentioned the little nod to Jaws that I put in. So I'm a big movie fan. I love movies, like all types of different movies. And Jaws 1 and 2, the rest are garbage, but Jaws 1 and 2 are like, to me, are classics. And when I couldn't build a nautical thing like this and decorate boats without kind of thinking about Jaws. So in Jaws 1 there's the boat that they go out hunting for Jaws on. It's called the Orca, and its captain is a guy called Quint. He's like this real nutty fisherman. Anyway, they hire him to bring Jaws in, and they originally trying to catch. They think they've caught Jaws, and they have Jaws hanging up, or what they think is Jaws. If you've seen the movie, you know all this. And they have him hanging up, and of course it's not Jaws. So that's the first nod, is the well, they call it a whale in this. I don't know what it is. It looks like a cross between a dolphin and a shark or something, but definitely not a whale. But anyway, they have him hanging up, and of course it's not the real Jaws. So then they go out looking for Jaws with Brody and Quint, and then I forget the other guy's name, Richard Dreyfuss. But anyway, they get these. They're going to harpoon him. That's the idea. So they have like a handheld harpoon gun, and they've got this mounted pier on the front of the boat with barrels on. So the idea is they shoot Jaws with it, and then the barrels hook on, and then he can't submerge, so he has to stay up. Just pulls him up to the surface, so he gets him tied, and then they can catch him. That's the idea. Anyway, so that's a nod to Jaws. So that's why I put that in. I didn't want to put both like little Easter eggs that I was going to do from Jaws onto one ship. So then the other ship has got the other Easter egg to Jaws, and you may have noticed this, you may have not, but again nobody said apart from two people. So there's a harpoon gun there, but then the cage is the other nod to it. So Richard Dreyfuss' character goes down in a cage that's designed to kind of protect him, but he can still use this little harpoon gun. Not harpoon, he's got like a spear actually that's got like tranquilizer tips on the end of the spear to kind of drug it. Yeah, it's a terrible idea. It doesn't work. but yeah, so that's kind of like the nod to that. So they've got the cage on there. So there's two nods on the boat, and then one nod with the hanging shark. That's kind of like my little Jaws Easter eggs. I like to, because when I mentioned obviously I'm a movie fan, I like to put stuff into my builds that kind of pay sort of homage to not to a specific movie, but I like movies that I have to watch multiple times. Like say for example like The Sixth Sense, Bruce Willis, a movie that you can watch over and over again and still see other things. And I like that, to kind of incorporate that kind of like style into my builds, where my tours, hopefully you can watch my tours multiple times and always see something different. And that's why I put little things like this in. It's not so much to rip off an idea or something, although obviously that helps, having good ideas, but it's more so little things that I put in. If you watch my tours over again, you might see things that you didn't necessarily notice the first time around. And while I'm here now, I can talk about my boat, because we're talking about boats. And so I said earlier I wanted to put a player home in. I knew I was going to do a houseboat. I just didn't know how advanced it was going to be, how much resources I had left, obviously how much frame rate was being sucked up by it. So originally I was going to build my own from scratch, a bit like I do with my vehicles. But I just think by the time I got this far, I knew that there wasn't enough. I knew that the frame rate was going to be pushed now. It was getting to the point where it had enough. So I decided to go with a pre-done one. So I used this white fishing boat, which is from USO. It had the shape and the kind of size, the openness that I knew to get what I wanted to get in there, really. So that's why I picked it. And it had a simple shape where I could copy, because I wanted this to look very much like it was a boat that worked and someone had just kind of adapted and repaired it, rather than built their own kind of scrappy Fallout style one, really. So it's based off of like what we call them barges in the UK. I think they're called maybe narrow boats, like in the States. But basically it's like a long boat, and it's kind of like that style that I'm using. Well, all I did is follow this angle. I tilted the wooden barn pieces, the half wall retextures, and just tilted it just enough to to follow that line. So it's only a slight tilt, but it's better than doing it straight, because if I did it straight it would have just looked weird. It's got a slight tilt on it. The metal panels again are from USO. They just tilted their floor panels. I just tilted them to kind of follow that line. And then I've got the planks from I think they're either from USO or they're from CVA, one or the other. And the same with the roof as well. It's just a normal floor piece, so the barn pieces, but again I've just tilted them just slightly just to match the roof on there, to give it the kind of that barge look. I don't know shit about boats, so apologies to anybody that's a sailor or actually has even been on a boat. I've never even been on a boat, so I don't know. The rigging probably is completely wrong. I just chose a style that I thought looked realistic, as in it looked like it could work. Like, I understand that sails go up and create a triangle. I'm not stupid, and I know that one goes from the front as well. So that's obviously how I designed the rigging. I just put points on the rigging that looks like it pulls up, and they're just conduit wires. It's nothing. It's not a mod. I've just used the wires because I've got no other choice than I've got no alternative than that. So so the rigging's probably wrong. So sorry about that. But what can I do? I just did the best I could. The masts are, I think they're from the post supports mod as well. There's like 3 different beams that I probably can't click on. Not too far away. I built this off of like a scaffolding so I can get up there. But there's like 3 different parts to the mast there, and the sail, the rolled up bit. I think, this is either from CVA or it's from another one called Awnings or something. There's 2 different mods that give that, but this could be the CVA one. And you can see there's another, just bit of metal there, that posts again that I've used tilted just to make the length of it. Pretty simple, but you know, it needed all the rigging to make it look like it works. It's also got an engine as well, so it's got a propeller. This boat's got a propeller underneath, so it does both. And yeah, so the inside again, I've never been on one of these boats, so I don't know how they look, but I chose a lot of wood because, well, it's a boat, it just looks like it should have lots of wood. And the inside took a long time actually, because I thought this was going to be a quick thing. I thought, oh, I'll come in and I'll just you know, decorate it. It will be real easy, nice and quick. Yeah, it didn't end up being that way. The walls are double layered. They've got like a wood inside and obviously the wood outside, so they're both tilted at the same angle, but just brought in a little bit. I didn't want to do straight walls in here either, because it just ruins the shape. It needs to be tilted. Again, going off a barge, what we have actually, like a canal boat, they always have this tilted side, so that was what I was going for. And then the actual furniture, it's pretty easy really in terms of what's used. It's just all these counter pieces out of USO. All of it is that. It's just different parts of it. Modular couches, again USO. It's pretty much all USO. The back pieces, again, they're the bar counters. I've just used different shapes to kind of make the look of it, make it look like it's all built in. The handles and stuff, they're meant to look like drawers. That's just a toilet holder. I think I've got a towel holder on there. This one, I don't know what the hell that is. It's out of my requested mod. It's in Worty Purty section, I think. I just tilted it to make it look like a door handle. I've used that before in other builds. The reason why I did all that as well is because I didn't want to have a lot of clutter in here on purpose. It's a boat. I imagine that it's going to get a lot of rocking around. You're not going to have loads of stuff out. So the stuff that is out, it's meant to look like, okay, I'm using that now, but I'm going to put it back in the cupboard, or I'm going to put it in the drawer. And yeah, like, so the stuff that's the loose things are generally put away. These could be like kind of screwed down, I don't know, but like there's not a lot out is what I'm trying to say. And then the cabin, again, forgive me, I don't know shit about boats, so I don't actually know if this is the right layout, but I just built to what I thought looked like it could work. And yeah, that little wheel, that's out of my requested mod. Possibly Worty section, same as these levers. These levers are a big thing. They're actually part of some boat look, but I didn't like the way it looked, so I just put it in there. Monitors are from Creation Club. The whole thing. The little lights are picture frames, which I can't show you there properly, but you get the idea. Picture frames. But yeah, I just kind of like used all these console pieces and just used the counterparts just to kind of make the nice shapes, make it look like it was all built-in wooden, you know, cupboards and stuff. I think you kind of get the idea now. The windows are greenhouse doors because there's no glass in the boat. Look, it looks like that, so that looks a bit crap. That looks better. Those are lighthouse doors. Kind of ironic, really. Kingsport lighthouse. And then the portcullis type looking windows, or whatever you would call them, the port windows, those are subway doors. Just tilted. And that is it really. It wasn't super complicated, but took a lot longer than I thought. So this building I just designed off like an image I saw somewhere, probably Pinterest, that had it was an image I saw ages ago. It wasn't to do with this build. I just wanted to incorporate it at some point. I see a lot of pictures and things. I remember stuff. Got quite a good visual memory, and I got these ideas and I think, oh yeah, I'll stick that in somewhere. And it was just basically a building that had like a crane coming out of it and an upper deck, and there was a road in front of it in the image, and they were loading stuff up, and it was just like an American style older wooden structure, that like a barn type building. And that's pretty much why I put this in, because I thought it would be great in like in a harbour type build. All the ships and stuff, again, USO. I've just put glass and you know, thing that's a vault window, I've just tilted it, put glass and decorated them all in there. Nothing really major. I just, you know, I didn't want them to look boring. That's a normal barrel and 2 dividers just to make a kind of front railings look a bit more interesting. What have I not talked about? Because I think I'm running out of time now. Let's have a look. Yep, I need to hurry up. I think that's probably most of it, really. The flower stand is just made from, well, a wheelchair, as you can see, some wooden boxes, just single plants, plank of wood to make a, you know, make it look like it's been set up. The handles or the arms of it are robot rudders from USO. You've got a umbrella in there as well. This stand is again just wooden parts from the post ports beams mod. Lots of different posts. I've just tilted just bits of wood, and you know, you can see that it's all little bits really just put together to make a kind of interesting looking stand. The tarp is from USO as well. I believe that red one is from that other Awnings mod I talked about, and all the little fish parts, which of course make a massive difference in selling this area, is from my requested mod. There's a fish area, there's a fish tab in there. The reason why I put this here is because underneath this counter, and you can just about see it, it's that metal there where my cursor is. That's the regular kind of metal drawer thing. You can see the handles of the drawers on the front. For some reason, I don't know what's happened, but since I've ever since I had mods on my game, I've never been able to delete that. If I see that in a settlement, that drawer thing, I can't delete it. It doesn't exist in my my tabs anymore. I can't place it. It just I don't have it basically, and because I don't have it, I can't delete it. So whenever I get that in a build, there's a few places you'll come across it that I want to remove it, and I can't. So I ended up having to build this over it on top of where it is, just to kind of like cover up that that's there. So yeah, so anyway, at this stage now, basically we're on the last. I'll do like 5 or 6 sweeps through a build once I get to the stage where everything's in place, and it's a case of just like what needs to be added now, just touches, tiny little things, you know, like it might just be a case of just like those paint tins in the boat, just I'll add those in and I'll walk through it again, another hour walking through it. What else is it missing? Oh, it'll just be like a candle in that light shade over there, or I'll stand back and, you know, because all these buildings are empty, and but I'll think, oh, you can just tell there's nothing in there, so I'll go back and add lights, or you see that it looks like there's something in that building. There's nothing in there, I can assure you, but there's enough in the window to make it look like there's something in there. And that's what I do on the kind of like the last few sweeps. The birds hanging, you know, sitting on the masts, it's that kind of stuff. Once I've gone through those sweeps and added what I've added, then it's a case of like, okay, I can move along now and I could upload it, and that's it really. So I think I can say that's done. There might be something else I'm missing. I'm always missing stuff, but if you have any more questions, don't hesitate to ask me in the comments. I always answer my comments. Even if sometimes YouTube doesn't notify me for whatever reason because it's crap. I tend to have a look through the comments at some point, just scroll through and see if there's anybody I've not spoke to, because I always like to reply to you guys. You take the time to talk to me, or you know, at least I can do is take the time to talk back. And I'll just say now as well, thank you to all you guys, my subs that have stuck around all this time. You know, this is an old game now, and I've been building for like 2 years, I think, in Fallout. And there's a lot of you guys that have been here from the get-go. So thanks for staying around, and thanks for like kind of always, you know, still finding my content interesting. But yeah, I kind of, you know, you guys keep me going. So thank you again for that. And anyone new watching, please like and subscribe. I'm still current. I still build. Just, you know, not every week. It's more like once a month nowadays. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.